Okay, today we are going to work on these little circle necklaces. To start with, I know I'm going to be doing starfish. So what I did is I picked the ones I thought would fit and I sprayed them with this crystal clear sealant, which is supposed to help keep their colors so that the epoxy doesn't change them. But it needs to sit for a little bit, so that's why I started with these, spraying them first. And I just sprayed them outside so the fumes, which are pretty strong, did not get into the room. And now I'm just going to do a little bit of epoxy. I'm just going to probably do less than a tablespoon. But I'm going to measure it and stir it. I stir for 2 minutes and then I transfer it to the other cup and stir it for another minute, and then I let it set for 5 minutes. And so that gets rid of a lot of the bubbles. And so far, none of the stuff that I've made has actually had any bubbles, so it seems to be working, so I'm going to keep doing that. But that's a boring thing to watch, so I'm going to get the epoxy ready and I will be back. Okay, we're back. My epoxy is setting and getting the bubbles out. Our starfish is ready. Now, I haven't done this before, but what I've been told is you take packaging tape and just get enough for the space that you want. Try not to get your fingerprints on it, I guess, which I don't know how to do that very well. I may have cut that too big already. And you put it down and you take the thing you're going to fill and you put it in the center of your tape. And you push down really hard to make sure that it seals in there, because you don't want your epoxy to come out through the tape. But leave a little bit of extra tape around it just in case it does, and it doesn't ruin your workspace. I have parchment paper down anyway, wax paper I mean, and it should be okay. So here's my second piece of tape. Put it down. So put the epoxy in there. Then drop your button in. That seems much better. I'm just going to let it settle and try and make sure it goes to the center. Then we're going to add a little bit more epoxy just to fill it all the way up, which is not much in there, so it doesn't take very much epoxy. Okay, now for this one, since the starfish is going to be on the outside, I unfill this epoxy in the middle of this, and just to give it some something to look at, I'm going to add some glitter to it. The glitter will be in the background of this one because I'm doing it kind of the opposite, because that doesn't fit in there. But we're going to have to make it somewhat interesting from both sides. So I want to have a little bit of something to look at. So I'm going to put this glitter in here. And there seems to be quite a few bubbles this time. So I'm going to be careful and make sure that I use the lighter and try and get some of those bubbles out. A little glitter moving around. Now, my starfish, is not going to be sticking to anything because it's not in the epoxy. So what I'm going to try and do, and I don't know if this will work or not, is I'm just going to try and put epoxy on the starfish, and hopefully that will seal the starfish to this little washer. But I don't know what happens when it gets too close to the edge. I don't know how it's going to look when it's done, because it's not going to have a nice finished look, I'm thinking. But we'll see. Maybe it will. And it looks like my glitter is starting to come out from inside, so it may have probably been a better idea to wait until that hardened before you even added the starfish. So if that becomes an issue, then I'll know again for next time. That's what happens when you do things for the very first time. Now we're just going to let that sit. I'm going to come back in every half hour or so and use the lighter and take the bubbles out and see how it goes. Okay, we finally get to see what we did with these tape and washer necklaces, and I think they turned out pretty well. Tape is just coming off. There's a little bit of tape on the back, but it's okay. Looks pretty good. It's a little bit cloudy on the back. I think that's some of the tape residue. So I'm going to take the tape and pull it off. And I'm also going to shine it up a little bit right there, so you can see through a little bit better. There is some tape lines too from this particular tape. So I will have to put a layer or something there to make it clearer. But it actually worked out pretty well with the starfish. You can feel the starfish a little bit, but it's not bad at all. I think it's pretty neat. And the button one, let's see. Ugh, that one doesn't want to come off. Yeah. Pretty neat. I like it. It's really clear on one side and just a little bit foggy on the side where the tape was. And it's a little bit sticky too. So definitely clear that up, and since it has numbers from being a washer, that's where I'm going to hang my bail right there to hide that. And since it's round, it won't really matter which side is up. So you have the rainbow effects, you have the button in the middle, and the see-through too, so it looks really nice.